Nathan, if you are able to come in, please.
Yes, excellent. State Counsel Mwenye, it's good to have you on the show. I was telling my colleague here that we've been trying to get you to come on via Dr. Mulenga in South Africa. I'm glad it has worked out this time around. And
thank you.
we're good. Yeah, we're glad to have you. I have two questions for you. Number one, how do we create a balance on the argument of tribal balancing in a nation which has experienced intermarriages over the past, from the time we've been independent, if you wish to say so? We have people with Bemba names, with a combination of Lozi and the Bemba name. You have Bembas who have grown up in Western Province. You have Lozis who have grown up in Eastern Province, things like that, of that nature. So I may carry a Tonga name, and yet I'm not really pure Tonga, so to speak. I know everybody understands what I mean by that. How do we not exaggerate this argument of tribal balancing in a country with such a scenario? My second question is, I was listening to one of your video clips where you were arguing to say, rightly saying, civil servants need to account for the wealth that they accumulate, where somebody, you rightfully said, you need to explain how you've acquired a Range Rover when your income from your job as a civil servant doesn't agree with the assets that you have. Do you think that we probably need to consider making into law Dr. Kaunda's leadership code? Would that help? I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, let me start. Thank you so much. I'm assuming this is Pastor Nathan Kama.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's good to hear from you, sir. Now let me start with the issue of tribal balancing. What, in fact, perhaps when we use the word tribal balancing, we may even misrepresent it slightly. I think the correct way to look at it is regional balancing. The names, yes, there have been several intermarriages. I personally married, for lack of a better word, here in Zambia, we use the word Amkarat in inverted commas. I am from two regions, but my wife is from the north. She's a Mambwe from Bala. You see, so my kids are all sorts of quotas. Now, but that notwithstanding, these sentiments are still there. We should not, if we had intermarried enough, if we had gotten to a level where our regional and tribal identities have now completely disappeared, then we shouldn't have had the problem we have now. Because the fact of the matter is, you hear people in the ruling party saying that Southerners are tribal and that they only vote for people from their area, in inverted commas. You hear Southerners saying the North, the North is accusing the Northerners of saying someone has issued a statement that it's a no-go area for anyone from the South. I have seen myself ministers campaigning on tribal grounds, saying that no Tonga should come here and campaign and get a seat in the North. Those things are there on the ground. So the issue, I think, is to be honest enough to identify that the problem exists. And then we must resolve it. How do we resolve it? By being deliberate in sending the correct message. It's like affirmative action. You who are in the Western world there know that when the Western government saw that women, for example, are being sidelined, there was a deliberate policy to have women employment increased, and that was the affirmative action. You have affirmative action with the African Americans or even Africans in other, or black people in other countries. But what we have to have here is a decision to regionally balance all appointment. And fortunately, as recent as 2016, a constitution that was drafted and passed by the current government recognizes that issue. So it was recognized enough that it was actually enshrined in our constitution that that ought to be done. It is a current problem which was actually, as recent as 2016, recognized by a constitutional enactment. So we must attend to it. So I mean, to shorten the answer is that we haven't intermarried enough to completely wipe out regional and tribal identities. They are still there. And the fact that there is actions that are being seen as skewed to some regions is causing problems, and we should resolve it.
Yeah.
Now, coming to the other issue you raised, I don't think we should have a leadership code. And the reason I say that is because it may work to discourage well-meaning business people from joining the government. Okay, those who have worked hard on their own and who have made money on their own and have skills. For example, some of you may be business people in the US, there, UK, Canada, and anywhere else. And we say that would be a good minister of commerce. Can we ask you to come here and work for the time for your people? What a leadership code in the Kaunda style does is to discourage you from participating in. But however, if the leadership code we are going to coin answers to the modern needs now, then yes, we can go to that route. But the principle is simple. Everyone who has worked or works in government should not be afraid to account for their wealth. I have always said this. I was Solicitor General first. I became Attorney General. Why should I be afraid of being asked what I had before, what I acquired when I was in government, and how come I have what I have now? If I haven't stolen, if my wealth is not as a result of corruption, why should I be afraid? We have seen instant millionaires in this country who all of a sudden become business geniuses when they're in government. They have never run a single thing in their lives. They have never successfully done any business or even feathered themselves in a formal employment. But immediately they get into government, they become instant millionaires. And when they leave, poverty comes in a few years later. Now, how do you explain that? You know, how exactly do you explain the fact that you have that phenomenon? So the only explanation is that there is abuse of government officers. We are a poor country, which has slipped on the TIZ Corruption Perception Index, and we continue to go down. I'll tell you something, and a lot of people ask me this: what did you do yourselves when you were in government? How did you attend to it? I was requested by the late President Michael Sata, may his soul rest in peace, in 2011 to join his government. And one of the issues I discussed with him when I was being asked is that if I were to occupy a watchdog role like the one he had given me, then I should be given, me and my colleagues, free rein to fight corruption. And he told me that is exactly why I'm bringing you in, because you are strong enough to say no. I must say, I enjoyed working with him because he encouraged us to fight corruption. There was one or two instances when he misspoke and made people uncomfortable about what he said. And internally, we raised those issues. But generally, President Sata sent a consistent message about corruption. 2012, I was sworn in 2011, December. 2012, we enacted the Anti-Corruption Act, brought back the abuse of authority of office clause. 2013, you may be interested to know, we are the ones who operationalized the Financial Intelligence Center, FIC. We gave it funding, we made sure it was staffed, and that it started working.
Wonderful.
You know, we also made sure that when a minister was accused of financial impropriety and was actually prosecuted, they were fired. And we brought that to the president's attention. Unfortunately, he acted in accordance to the advice he was given. And we saw a lot of that. Ronald Chitete that was fired. Rodger Chali, the late, may his soul rest in peace, was fired. There was even a young permanent secretary who had a big party with fireworks and so on. I think she had it on a Saturday. By Tuesday, she was asked to go and enjoy her wealth because we are saving poor people. You can't be showing so much wealth, and if you have so much money, go and enjoy it. So I think the message was strong. It was consistent, and because of that, in 2012, we scored the highest corruption perception. Rose to 37, and in 2013 and 2014 we hit that record. Our record 38, and I think that is something that made me and my colleagues quite proud. So I still reiterate the fact that we must account for our wealth. That's the only way to fight. People should know that when they leave power, or when they leave office, or even as they are in office, they'll be asked questions as to how they are driving expenses, living in mansions, and having a lifestyle where sending families all over the world for medical treatment, complete with bodyguards paid for and so on. Where is this money coming from? In a country where people exchange, some people eat today, at lunchtime, others eat supper tomorrow in the same household. You can't eat all the meals the same day. We have problems that we must resolve. And every dollar, every kwacha must be saved from going into people's pockets.
Well said. We'll spend the last 10 minutes being hopeful State Counsel here. I've always told my friends I grew up in Kitwe, where actually back in the day, State Counsel, when I was growing up, I thought people from Malawi was a city in Zambia, because there were so many of them in Mindolo. To my left, south we are from Tanzania, north Vanakabungo, everywhere, and we lived well. Question: how do we begin to have a wonderful discussion where you hear Tonga, it's not a toxic thing you are hearing. If you hear Bemba, it's not a toxic. We begin to celebrate ourselves. How do we lift ourselves at this stage, State Counsel?
No, I think, you see, our people have no problem. At the local level, at the domestic level, we have no problem with each other. And I tell people, why is it that in love we don't have these problems? When I saw my wife, I didn't ask, which region do you come from?
My wife is from Luapula, by the way.
Exactly. I just saw this woman, I said, she's beautiful. That is something that looks appealing to me. Yeah. I probably knew about Mbala and everything 4 months after we had started talking.
Yeah.
Now, if in love we don't talk about this, why is it that we are talking about it in politics? And the only answer is that this is a politically motivated issue. It's not an issue of our people. It is being funded by people who want to benefit politically by dividing us. And that's why those of us who are well-meaning must sound the alarm, so that those who are funding it know that we know, and we're not interested to participate in this machination that just divide us, you know? Yeah. So at the end of the day, I don't think, even now when you go in the communities, you don't see this. But those in authority and sometimes in government offices fund this kind of divisions. I'll tell you a story. I have a close friend of mine. He is Tonga, and we went to school together. He met me one day and he says, look, I'm very sad about what is happening. So I asked, what was the problem? He says, my auntie, who is an old woman from the village, came to visit. for a funeral, and in the funeral, someone stole something from her. So we went, I got her into my car, and we went to a nearby police station to report this issue. Now, because she's an old Tonga woman from the village, she could only speak Tonga coherently. So she was talking to me in Tonga, and I was interpreting it to the police officer. And this police officer had the guile to say, not if you're Fitundomuno. How? How does an officer of the state talk like that? You know, and it's only the people who occupy some of these, and I don't think that is even a proper police officer, because our police are very professional. Most of our police officers, if you recall, in the olden days, when they even speak, they would speak with a somewhat Lilai Tonga accent, if you remember,
yes.
or even Aussie accent.
Yes.
So our police officers are not that intolerant. These are the new people who may have been infused, who don't even have proper training. But this is something that is being now trying to be pushed down by people who don't know any better. It is not us. As Zambians, we are not that kind of way. And locally, we don't even know these issues. So that's why well-meaning people like yourself and myself should highlight these issues, not because we harbor any ill will against our leaders. We do it out of love. It is a warning. It is the advice that, look, when you appoint people, don't tell them that we are disunited when we are in fact not disunited. You know, we are united people. At local level, we are cohesive. But the more that our leaders fan these flames, the more the disunity will come.
Exactly.
And we must now so that it doesn't crop in.
Wow. Wow. Lastly, I took this from your Facebook article 259, subsection 2 of our constitution requires regional balancing in appointments and nomination. There is a good reason, you said, for this. Is there a legal recourse, State Counsel, to this problem?
Yes, there is legal recourse. There is actions that people who feel they may have been discriminated against can take to enforce those articles. But even before we get there to legal recourse, we must hope that our leaders will see that this is not necessarily a legal issue.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is a national issue that should be attacked from a national point, because you know the problem with law, you have winners and losers. We can't have that in this debate.
No,
you know, it is a question about
I like that.
all of us winning, you know, and hoping that we can convince those who are listening that this is the right way to go. There is no need for any of these kind of things, because we have seen it. We look at board appointments. They seem to be one way. We look at any appointment. You can almost predict when someone is fired, the replacement, you can tell where they're coming from. You know, and I think that even the people who are being appointed, some of our brothers who we have spoken to, they understand that this is a problem. I have had a lot of discussions with friends who are from the East. I have had a lot of discussions from friends in the northern region. They also know that this is not proper, because it doesn't serve any of us, you know, because we are one Zambia, we are one nation, and we are one people. We've always been.
We've always been one people. State Counsel, I'm not sure how to thank you if I speak in my, is it Kopala language? I'm not sure how to thank you, but we are very, very grateful. And we, like you have rightly said, some of us who are well informed, we should continue to push this issue, because going along with it, it is a dangerous practice to have. Thank you, State Counsel, for your time.
Thank you so much for having me, and all the very best. Cheers.
Thank you. So, Nathan, there you are. I hope you got something there. You are convinced. He's challenging us that we who are What did you say? What did you say? We who are
well-meaning,
we should take a lead into this thing as we
Yes.
transition to Anaka's. Go ahead, Nathan.